Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We said at the time when the tax rises were announced that this would drive people away. People would look to see where they can go to pay less tax. And lo, we were right. It has come to pass. You heard it here first, folks, so do hit that subscribe button to continue hearing it here first. It's almost as though we have a crystal ball and can see what is happening. So join us as we gaze into the future. Because not only did we say people would leave, we'd say there'd be a loss of investment, people wouldn't come, and we've shown on other videos how investment is now falling and how people are not coming and how there's huge numbers of unfilled places, particularly in the NHS. But it was that claim that people would leave which we're looking at today, because a poll has just shown that a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, are actively considering leaving Scotland because of Humza Yousaf and his cohort of incompetent cretins pushing tax up and cutting services. How many, I hear you asking? Is it a lot of people? Oh boy, yes. It'll astound you how many people are looking to leave Scotland. Here goes. Huge blow for Humza Yousaf as a third of Scots consider leaving Scotland, and a majority believe public services are just not worth it. A third of the population of Scotland are thinking of leaving because the SNP is so bad. Now, if that's a third of Scots, and the majority will probably be people who vote against the SNP because they consider it's the SNP causing the problem, that will, of course, likely mean that the remaining 2/3 are more likely to vote for independence. Can you imagine the joy Humza Yousaf will be having seeing that a third of predominantly anti-independent Scots voters will be looking to leave Scotland? It will give him a little wet dream of independence. It's unbelievable, isn't it? And yet, he will see that as a victory. But by any margin, that is a massive fail. Because who will be leaving? Predominantly, it will be the young and it will be the workers. It will be the skilled. What you're going to be left with is a rump consisting of the elderly, the pensioners who can't move, of the poor who can't afford to move, of the low skilled who don't have the ability to go and get a job elsewhere. The needs of the state will still need to be met, and no one will be putting the tax in because everyone who can will have run and taken their cash and earnings with them. This is a major, major blow for Scotland should this come to pass. But honestly, you can't blame the people. If you're sitting there and you have a skill that you can sell, why would you sell it in Scotland and get taxed to smithereens when you can go down the road, sell it in England and keep a lot more of your earnings, and come March, potentially even more than that? It's a joke. This guy is so incompetent that he is effectively going to destroy Scotland in one term of office. He needs to go before Scotland is finally subsumed into just a simple, how can we define it? A benefit state? An entire country that runs on benefits and where nobody works to pay into the tax system. And he will then probably go, now's the time for independence. The man is a joke. Because, of course, all those people leaving will cause mass unemployment because all those workers taking their pay slips home, they'll be spending their money in England. They won't be spending it in the pubs and clubs and restaurants and bars and cinemas in Scotland. So all of them will close. And what are you left with? Scorched earth. The man he's dangerous. He's got to go. The First Minister, and it gets worse. Honestly, you think that's bad? Listen to this. The First Minister is facing growing dissent over his high taxes as younger Scots look likely to abandon the country if he continues to push them up. And over half of Scots don't believe they get value for money with the likes of the NHS and Police Scotland. So a third are thinking of leaving and half are unhappy with what they've got. And yet they still vote these monkeys into bloody office. Honestly, they're a bunch of chimps sitting there playing at government. None of them have got a clue, and this is the result. And it would be funny if it wasn't so damn tragic. Humza Yousaf's planned income tax hikes are facing a huge backlash after damning polling found that a third of Scots would consider leaving the country if they are hammered by further rises. And a majority of people believe the current tax regime is poor value for money, as public services are not worth it. Well, this is what happens. You've got a party that's incapable anyway, the SNP, and then they've been corralled and snatched further to the left by a bunch of overpowered Marxists who shouldn't even be in government, because no regional seat ought to be a cabinet position. And so the Greens are sitting there going, oh, you've got to do this, got to do this. Humza Yousaf hasn't got the balls to tell them to sod off and run as a minority government. Or at least to say, look, we're not going to do that. If you want to walk, walk. They haven't yet. And they won't. Not while they're on that money. Of course they won't. Anyway, the high-tax First Minister, high-tax Humza, they're calling him, has refused to U-turn on plans to increase the tax burden for thousands of Scots, and with the tax divide growing even further with the rest of the UK. The SNP has repeatedly insisted the system is fair and helps the likes of the free prescriptions, which even millionaires get for free. Why not just have a £10 charge for prescriptions, and if you're on benefits, you get it free? Or if you're unemployed, not unemployed, it's benefits, isn't it? Retired, you get it free. But anyone who's working pays a tenner, subsidises, puts money into the system. So what happens in England? I think it's £11.90 or something now, but whatever it is. But it's a number. But it's still fairly good value for money. Yes, sure, you're paying the same money for cheap stuff, painkillers and antibiotics, that sort of thing. But when you get some of the specialist medicines that are exceedingly expensive, they're still only that £11.95 or whatever it is. It's a fairer system, and everyone who can pay in, pays in. But they didn't want that. They didn't want a fair system. They wanted a system where millionaires can benefit as well as people who are unemployed. Everybody gets it for free. And that's absolutely fine. If you're sitting there in your big 7-bed castle, 4 cars and a Range Rover in the drive, earning $3 million a year from the stock market, and you're still popping down the chemist to get your free prescription. It's crazy, isn't it? Anyway, new polling has revealed, and it's stunning, isn't it? New polling has revealed 57% of people, so you're getting, actually not just half, you're getting on towards 2/3, believe that public services were not worth the money when they considered their outgoings, with only 28% believing that the high level of personal tax did provide value for money across the likes of the NHS and road repairs, while 14% said they didn't know. I'm not going to do the story on this, but there is a story running the rounds today about road costs. And there's 2 roads, the M8, that corridor, the M8 corridor, and, the Aberdeen, like that can't be what you call it, but the big Aberdeen circular thing that goes around the city there. Those 2 roads, how much do you think those 2 roads are costing? 10 million? 100 million? 300 million? 30 billion with a B. 2 roads. Value for money. That's the SNP for you, isn't it? 30 billion for 2 roads. Wow. Stunning. These guys are financial geniuses. This is the value for money you're getting. Anyway, getting back to this. Research carried out by Servation for advisory firm True North also found that 33% of people would consider moving to another part of the UK to pay less tax, and 55% the opposite. With 55% rather the opposite, 12% being unsure. But a third, if you think a third of Scots, remember these will predominantly be younger earning people with skills, the high trades, the high skills, young, leaving behind a system with no input, with only output, and with nothing and no means to pay it. It will collapse almost overnight. And remember, the SNP fought to get hold of the benefit system. So it's their benefit system now. This isn't central UK benefits, so the benefits are guaranteed out of the UK money. No, no, no. That's now got to come out of the Barnett consequentials. Wow. Are you in trouble, Scotland? Are you deeply, deeply in trouble if a third of your people leave? Of course you are. This is stunning, isn't it? Businesses warned that they may struggle to recruit due to the tax divide. We did that story yesterday. Or was it the day before? Yeah, Sunday. It was on Sunday. Anyone making over $28,500 in Scotland pays more tax than their English counterparts, with Finance Secretary Shona Robertson confirming more tax hikes in the budget. A new 45 pence tax band is being introduced on earnings above 75,000, and with the top rate above 125,140 also increasing by a penny to 48 pence. The high rate threshold is frozen as well, so you're getting that fiscal lag, which will just drag slightly more people into it. It's just tax all the time, because the woman knows nothing else. You don't grow an economy by taxing. Grow an economy by low tax and giving people the rewards of work. They then work harder and the economy grows and you actually get a bigger tax take. But that's very hard for stupid people to understand. And unfortunately, you've got one of the world's most stupid people running the finances of Scotland. I think how she'll just have to sit there and rock. What they call that, stimming, when you're doing that. She'll be sitting in a corner stimming once a third of people leave and she's got no money whatsoever. Higher taxes mean someone earning a £35,000 salary will pay £61 more in Scotland than the rest of the UK. Likely to get worse, of course. Hunt has got his budget coming in March, and the rumour is there'll be a slight rate cut. And already, I believe it was Humza Yousaf wrote to him begging him not to cut the rate because it'll make Scotland unattractive to investors and workers. Well, you should have thought of that before you put the taxes up, pal. Anyway, if it's 442 worse off at 45,000. Nearly 1,700 worse off at 55,000. Now you think 55,000 sounds a lot, but it's only a manager's role. It's only like a senior manager. A head of a school will be on about 75,000, won't he? So a school head will be 2,100 a year worse off. But a deputy head or a head of department in a school will be nearly 2,000 or 1,700 a year worse off. Well, why should he pay 1,700 a year? Because Humza Yousaf is a banana. It's unbelievable, isn't it? They will leave. Of course they will. And what's worse, not only would they leave, but when they look to recruit, replacements, the replacements are going to go, no, not a chance. And the only way you'll get around it is if you up my salary to a sufficient degree that excess in tax is wiped out by the differential increase in salary. Then they go, well, we can't afford it. Well, there you go then. Anyway, public services in Scotland have long been struggling, with figures published on Tuesday showing that the number of Scots waiting longer than 4 hours are hitting the second highest level on record. We've covered that earlier today. The Times reports that 46% of SNP voters thought they were getting poor value for money when it came to services. True North analysed the findings and said it had already appeared to be a substantial resentment among middle and higher earners, increasing numbers of whom are falling into the higher tax bands as wages rise above the high, talking and moaning about the high taxes as they fall into them. Sandy Begbie, Chief Executive of the Scottish Financial Enterprise, said, "The next generation of talent is crucial for the future of our industry, and these findings suggest many Scots are increasingly looking beyond Scotland for job opportunities due to our high tax environment." And of course they are. And it's all these skills will go south to England, go to Wales, go to Northern Ireland. There's many places they can go. The one place they won't be going is Scotland, because why should they? And you can't blame these people. He said this is a highly mobile section of the costs. I'm happy with. This is a highly mobile section of the costs. Oh, I tell you what, typo, Scots. This is a very highly mobile section of the Scots who are unhappy with tax rises, and the threat of them leaving is a genuine cause for concern for our longer term economic prospects. It will be when you've got no one doing the job. Where the job will go. The job will have to go. The whole companies will close down because they will literally not have the staff. And people say, "Well, I'm not doing that. Look, I can't afford to work that job. The bus fare is this. I've got to pay that. My rent is this. I'm better off being unemployed and having my rent paid than taking your job." because even if I take the job, I'm losing so much in tax, I'm worse off. Almost half, 46% of 16 to 24-year-olds said they would consider moving. So if you lose half of your 16 to 24-year-olds, the country is screwed, because they're the ones also, remember, who breed. And then your population not only will drop by people leaving, but growth will go. As people just get older and age out, you can have an increasingly massive aging population, and with no one at the bottom to support them. It will topple over. Scotland will fail. It will be a failed country, a failed state, and it's all going to happen within one term, possibly as little as 1 year of Humza Yousaf's reign of error in Scotland. And I'm coming up. It's not going to get better, is it? It's only going to get worse. It's going to get increasingly worse. Fewer people left in Scotland. More people who do remain requiring help and assistance. And there's no one there to give it. And then the only way that they can get help is to advertise these care jobs at immense salaries. And then you'll be getting the tax back. And it's all a joke, isn't it? It's a high tax system. And that, it drives people away, as Humza Yousaf is about to learn. The man's a fool. He's not North Korea. He can't close the border. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry about the length of it. It went on. But until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.